No, it's gonna be late.
Nero, everybody.
So, ladies and gentlemen, K9 Nero, Officer Peter McClellan, Officer Michael Kramer, the YPD K9.
It's like picture taking. Yeah.
Matt, do you feel comfortable talking about you and Nero?
Yes, I was going to, wait 1 minute. There's a third party that was a big part of his recovery from Barnstable PD and he's supposed to be here.
I'll check on that.
Yeah, he said he's on his way.
I'd hate to do it without him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm surprised he's actually a little bit calmer than I expected.
It's my business.
The problem we have here is that because of his injury, we have to use a harness for control. We can't put anything on his neck. This harness is a work harness, so he gets mixed messages. Got this on, he's thinking he might be going out to track a bad guy or come in and do a building search or something. So it creates a little bit of an adjustment because I can't tell him no, and we don't have any other way of actually keeping him under control.
So he's a little confused right now.
Yes.
A little bit.
Mainly we figured out because of have to use this particular harness, or even any harness. He has other harnesses for different applications when they're training and working, and they get used to those and they know what they're for. And he never has a harness on unless he's doing something training-wise. So.
How old is Nero?
He's 2.5.
Be 3 right around Christmas. Keep that airway.
Peter, what is the exact
Yes, sir.
type of breed?
This is a Belgian Malinois. It's Malinois. It's a Belgian herding breed, just like originally a German Shepherd was a German herding dog. And they transformed them from being dogs that worked on farms and so forth into police and military work. And this is just a breed that was developed in part of Belgium.
What's this? I'm sorry, Belgian.
Belgian Malinois. It's Malinois. I kind of learned from having other ones myself. The country actually has 3 parts of the country. The Malinois breed was developed in the part that speaks French, so that's how the Malinois got started. But they're kind of their national dog.
Is that a standard patrol dog? Or, I know German Shepherds are typically the...
When I got my first one back in 1989, I had the only working one in New England. Now it's probably 50 miles to Shepherd, maybe more.
We're seeing more of a mix now. So you're seeing a Shepherd Mally mix. Mally would be, kind of their nickname. So you're getting more of that coming out of Europe in mixes. So.
Why are they so good at what they do?
They have a tremendous work ethic and drive. They're total energy dogs. They need to do something. People see them, think they look nice. They say, "Oh, I'd like to have them for a pet," and I advise them, don't do it. Because unless you have a lifestyle that you're going to entertain him all day long and run him and swim him and do all those kind of things, because they have high energy and they want to work. And if they're not working, they're not happy.
Most of the Belgian Malinois being overseas.
Mostly, yes.
Yeah.
And even our regular work patrol dogs, a lot of them we are getting because the working lines in Europe are stronger than in America.
Can you tell us a little about Nero's name, where you got it from and what it means?
Yeah, it's interesting. The original name, one of the things that when people breed dogs, breeders have them, they name a certain litter by one letter, so all the dogs in that litter will have that letter. And he came from a G breeding, and he has a brother named Gronk, and his original name was Giro, it was Giro, which is a kind of an odd name. And when Sean, we were doing the transition, when I was giving him to Sean, he asked me, can we give him just a different name like Nero? It's fine. And as long as it ends with an O, he doesn't know the difference. So he kind of just got switched just because Sean and his wife just like Nero better than Giro, which I was supportive, so.
Peter, you train a lot of dogs, and you had Nero when he was a puppy, correct?
Yes, I got him originally from the breeder at, I think he was maybe 2.5 months old. And he had a whole litter, and he had a business, and he was kind of going too many directions. He couldn't put any time. So he asked me to, what they call imprint, and that is take them, socialize them, take them out, put them in cars, take them for walks, put them around people in public, all these kind of things, which I did for several months, and then he took them back. And then I got a phone call a few months later that he's all jammed up again, the dog's just sitting in the kennel, and so he gave him back to me again, and that's when we had set in place for me to donate him to the town, to Sean, and we started working. That was in September, and then he would stay at my house. We would train every day, and then in November I turned the keys over to Sean, and he went to his house, and we still train, but he came from his house instead of my house.
With all the dogs that you've trained, how long does it take before you realize a dog is special?
It's hard, it's sometimes you can tell when they're pups, they might be, but you have to get them out there and get them in the work stand and see what happens. And this dog is a very, as far as the Malinois goes, he's a kind of more of a mellow one than some of the others. Some are a little edgy on the high-end ones. He was a perfect mix for Sean. He has a nice time when he can relax and his signals aren't crossed. He can be just a lovable pet, which is kind of nice.
Pete, can you describe the relationship maybe between Nero and Sean?
Yeah, as I said before, that Sean was a level-headed guy, a real athletic, strong person, and he's an athletic dog. He's level-headed. It was just a match. They were just fine. And sometimes the transition might take a little bit, but it was instant. As soon as I said, he's going home with you tonight, that was it. There was no adjusting. He was fit right. And the biggest thing we had, Sean had 2 other dogs. So he had a pet that was a family pet, and then had his retired drug dog, which was a black lab. So one of the first things we did before we made the change, we got all 3 of the dogs together out in the park, let them get to know each other, and actually the little female pet was the one who put both the other guys in line. And
Usually the case.
and they got along, and that was it. So that was seamless. So then you could have, because if you have more than one in your house and they don't get along, that makes your life a little bit difficult. But it worked. That was seamless too. No problem.
How did they work together as a team, Sean and Nero?
Well, with all the guys in canine, I've found over the years, if you're going to be a successful canine, you have to have the bond with your dog, and you have to really like to do it. And he had that. So, and with canine guys, if it gets to the point where you going to training, stuff gets to be a chore, and you don't like doing it, then it's not for you. But we've had lucky that the guys in the units are really dedicated. They love their dogs. They love their work. And it just goes hand in hand.
Okay, how is Nero doing now without Sean? How has that affected him?
I really don't have that dialed in yet. He just met with Sean's wife yesterday at my house. She comes to visit. He recognized her before she even gets to the door. He can tell. We don't know that. I'm sure he's missing going to work. He doesn't understand now that he's injured and he can't run and he can't jump. He would love to get back to cruising and go to work. He'd do it in a minute.
Do you think he misses Sean?
Oh, absolutely. But it's hard to judge that now, especially it's so short. It's only almost 3 weeks. So he's getting a lot of attention, as you can see. And he did from the minute it happened. And he adjusted very well that way.
Has his personality changed at all from what you observed, knowing him?
He's a little different than when I handed him that. You figure when I handed him over, he was just under a year old. And I've had him since when Sean went on vacation. I had him at my house for a week a couple times, and he always stops by to let me see him. He's worked more, so he's got a little more of an edge to him than when I handed him off because he hadn't finished all his training and so forth. So that's his other buddy.
I know. This is Sean Roycroft, the officer from
box with them. I know.
Hey, when he got out of the hospital, I had planned a trip with my wife for a year in advance. So Sean stepped up and took him for that week till I got back. So, plus Sean stayed with me in the hospital a lot, so they have a strong bond. So you can see how this, now he didn't know Sean that much before this happened, and you can see this reaction, so you can imagine what his reaction is with his real hand and stuff, so.
Peter, could you sort of just kind of refresh us on, like, you know, how nervous he sounded, how recovery, and how that might affect him?
All right, the bullet went in the left side of his, right there, and it was on a downward angle, and it went through his throat, and by doing that, it went through his trachea and put a hole in completely through it. He had to stitch up 2 parts of his trachea. And then it also nicked his esophagus, so there's a hole in his esophagus. So they were hoping, before we saw the first CAT scan, that it was something that maybe was just a nick and they could heal by itself, and it turned out they immediately called for get the OR ready as soon as they saw the picture. And they went in and they had to physically take the trach out and sew it up, and it was quite the operation.
Is he breathing and eating all right now?
Yes, he is. Surprisingly enough, the food part's always been difficult with him. I'm finally getting him dialed in. He didn't want to eat when he came out after 3 days. He hadn't eaten and he didn't want to eat. We tried every food combination in the world. And we finally got a little piece of the chicken that he liked, so I did a little hand feeding him. And now I got him now where he's kind of eating his dry food again. Still gets treats and stuff, but he's even fussy about treats, like normal dog treats. Yeah, he doesn't care about them.
What did the vet say about his long-term prognosis, and will he be able to work as a police canine again?
We're assuming that the 3 months that I'm going to have, at least when he gets the okay, he'll be 100% physically. What happens then is there's a lot of things have to come into play. Do I personally think that he'd be able to work again? I think so. Whether that's in the cards, we don't know. I think physically he's going to recover from it.
Where the bullet land, Peter?
The bullet is still in him. The bullet went in his left and it's in
In his armpit, right under here.
in there.
What size?
We're not exactly sure because we didn't get the ballistics. But I've seen it on X-ray and I've seen it on pictures of it from the hospital. And it's not near an artery. It's not near a joint that might be a problem with arthritic or something like that. So you're going to just leave it there, not put him through the trauma. And if sometime it becomes an issue, it's an easy fix.
Peter, what do you do to help Nero cope with this trauma, not only being shot, but also losing his longtime handler?
Just be around him a lot. Just a lot of attention. And now, luckily that I'm retired, I have that time. I'm with him all the time. I walk him all the time. He hangs out in the house all the time. He hasn't been in a crate or anything since he's had this. He has free run of the house. So we just try to normalize his life as much as we can. And when we can get less restrictions on his physical activity, it'll make it a lot easier. But then I can take him down, let him take a swim and all that stuff that's good for him and healthy, and take some of the edge off him, because they do get kind of wound up if they don't get to release the energy that comes with the breed.
Is there any discussion about whether or not Nero would, and I've heard he's not going back into service, but is there any discussion, because he seems so vibrant and excited to be here, is there any discussion about him going back into service, or is he?
It's one. I think it's one of the several options, but there's other things that have to come first. It's not my call, or it's not our call yet. It's they have a line, what comes first, second, and third. But that's maybe part 3 that he might go back to work. We don't know. I would say that's probably least likely. But
Right now, it's kind of like with Sean's wife.
yes, it's basically her call.
Okay, good. Is that, will Nero be going to Sean's wife? I understand that's what Sean wanted, right?
That was his wish, yes.
And so, let me just ask you, what's the future for Nero?
That is still undecided. It's too early. Darrell will make that decision when she's comfortable, when she's ready, and when he gets the okay. If she wants him to go to her house, then that's where he'll go. Even if she gets him and finds out that he's too much of a handful now that he's not working and so forth, then it might turn around that I might get him back, because I can spend more time with him and so forth. But we're going to just let that work out in time.
Peter, do you have other dogs at home?
No, I lost my last dog I retired with. Lost him 2 years ago. So the first time in 50 years I don't have a dog in my house. So
Can you talk about Nero's job that day? He was going in to help Sean clear, find.
yes, they were gonna search. They did it once and they didn't find anybody. Then I think, if I'm correct, they heard some noise and went back to double check, and that's when. So he was with 3 officers and the dog were all together at the same time.
Was he shot once, and that's the one bullet that's in that went through and,
Yes.
okay.
So I got a question for Sean. Sean, how does that make you feel when you get that kind of response from Nero?
From Nero? Well, Chief, it's, to have him at my house after this happened, for the time that I had him, it helped me tremendously. It might sound a little selfish, but, and then Mike and I noticed, when we brought him for his first vet visit, and we stopped here on the way back, and just to see the effect that he had on everybody here, and how that made the guys here feel, it's unbelievable. I mean, I miss having him at my house, but he's at the right place, and I know I can go see him anytime. So I miss having him sleep in my bed. I was creating some bad habits for Peter before he got back from vacation. So Nero, he got to sleep in my bed with me.
He's getting a little liberties that we would normally not have.
Yeah.
On the couch and all that good stuff.
You said earlier that you're sure that the dog, that Nero misses Sean. How does that manifest itself? How do you know that? Does he?
Well, the only way I can tell is when he sees Dara when she comes to see him, and he gets very excited. And when she gets out of her car and he's looking out the door, he knows it's her and he gets very excited. So I just figure that in times 10 if it was Sean doing the same thing. So I'm sure it is there, but there's really no way to kind of really honestly gauge it. But seeing his reaction to Dara and thinking a lot more if it was Sean, just be a lot more.
I think it might have been you, Sean, at the funeral procession. A couple of canine officers said that it was Nero's progress on a daily basis that really helped them get through that entire week.
It's been amazing. Not only for the canine officers. I mean, obviously the police family is a tight-knit, we're a tight-knit group, especially here on the Cape. But then you get into the canine specialty, and that's even tighter. But what he's done for everybody, like I said, when we stopped here at YPD, and I could see the reaction from the people, I talked to Mike and I said, you know what, I think I'm going to bring him to my PD too. And everybody from my building came out and spent time. I thought it was going to be 10 minutes. We were there for almost 2 hours, and it was awesome for everybody to be able to spend time with him. So there's just something about him. He's got that healing quality.
Peter, can you talk about the initial hours after you found out what happened? You just came right over and you wanted to make sure that you were okay.
The way it kind of started, I got a phone call to come down to the emergency room, and when I got there, they would ask me to actually get the keys to Sean's house and go take care of the 2 dogs that were still home. So I was just about to go do that, and then there was a change of plans, and I was told, they still don't have the dog, can you go out to the scene? And when I got out there, I didn't know what was, it had been shot yet or anything. We just know he wasn't there. We didn't even know he was in the house. We were just hoping he still. So after that was finally with the SWAT guys and doing their job and finally got it and found him up there. Then I was there to get him at the front door, jump in the back of a Barnstable Cruiser, and we blue lighted it over to the dentist. They knew we were coming, and we were waiting for him. And that's how it started. And the first night I was going to go home, and then I said, I can't go home. So I stayed with him that night. Next morning we went to the Bourne facility, and I just couldn't leave him alone. So it just kind of happened naturally, it wasn't planned. And I had all the other guys, we had K-9 guys 24 hours a day at the place besides me. Sean spent a lot of time with me, and Mike, and so, and we had people relieving. Bourne PD was super, they came in every day to check on us. And we had federal guys there, all kinds of people. So he wasn't a minute that at that place he was ever alone, really. And it just got to the point where I was actually helping the techs, because he had so many things going on with him in the beginning, that I would make it easier for them. I would even change some of the things for him and stuff, because he knew me and he was more relaxed with me. And it just worked out seamless. The techs and the vets there are just unbelievable. I was very, very impressed.
How thankful are you guys to still have this piece of Sean with you?
Go ahead, Mac.
Well, it's big because this thing about people, especially people like us who are dog people, it's a very big part of our hearts, and the other people relate to them. And our K9 has been around, the first one on Cape Cod, and we've been here a long time in the community. People like our program, and it brings a lot of support from everybody. It gives a lot of people, they care about the dog, so they can show some of their feelings, not only for Sean and his family, but for the dog too, and it's just been overwhelming.
Peter, how did, I guess you were Sean's first handler, you had him, you were Nero's first handler, and you had him since he was a puppy.
Yeah.
I guess, how did this tragedy affect you?
Affected me? Well, Sean was a good friend of mine, and I was on the committee that selected him to get the position, so it's been tough. The saving grace for me, in a way, the way I kind of grieved through this, is I was so tied up with him, and most of my energy was directed to him, and that was good for me in that way, because it kept me, especially that first week, it was a blur. It was just 24 hours every day. It was crazy, but it was good, because I got to help him, make him feel better, and he was absolutely a big part of Sean, and I felt I was doing the right thing, so it helped me.
He's calmed down considerably since you first came in.
Yes. And as I said before, if we get to the point where his health is a little bit better, I can get him out of this and onto a regular collar. I think he'll even get more used to, because he's been working for over a year and a half.
Yes.
So he's still in work mode. So some of the dogs don't turn it off as easy as others. He generally around the house, he's very good. So he just has to kind of get a routine and get back to normal life.
What language was he trained in?
We kind of do a lot of things. Some we use German sometimes we use Dutch commands. It's kind of up to the guys. Some of them do half English.
It's a mix.
It's more or less what you're doing and your tone of voice and what the word is. I had one that would do commands in Dutch, English, and German. I didn't plan to do it. He just being training so much, we'd pick up these other commands, you just do it. So they kind of know the situation, and they react to the situation more than what you're saying.
So he's multilingual.
And when we taught him from the very pup, we taught him like obedience with food reward and without words, just with motion. So he would see the food in my hand, and when he would sit, then he would get the food. So that gets ingrained in him. We can do that at 7 weeks old. And so he knows to sit without me telling him to sit. So he sits on his own, so he controls the situation instead of me forcing him to sit. And then that produced with the down, you bring the food on the ground. When he lays down, he gets the food. So that's ingrained in him. So I can still do the hand commands, he'll still do it and stuff.
Can you talk about the support that Nero's been getting? I understand you've been getting messages from around the world of encouragement for his recovery.
That's true. We're still getting cards. We haven't even gone through everything yet. We're still getting cards and letters and people I don't know. I've been asked out to lunch by a whole bunch of people I don't know. And all these things. It's just been a wonderful response. And as I said, people really relate to the animals and dogs especially. And it's just been, I went upstairs, I saw the desk with all the envelopes, and they haven't even got a chance to even get through half of them yet. And I have a bunch that were sent to me or given to me.
What's the general timeline then for his transition?
We're looking about, we were told about 3 months till he gets the go-ahead. I have a feeling it might be shorter than that. It's more, actually next week he's going in to have an endoscopy where they're gonna check his throat and see how it's doing. And that's the main healing thing to have to worry about. And when he gets the okay, it might be sooner than, you know, like, just like people, some people recover faster from things than others. I got a feeling it's gonna be shorter than longer. That's just my gut feel.
Is there anything he can't do? He can run, he can bark?
Now, he can bark, but he can't, he would run if I let him. I can't let him run. And that's one of the things that's hard, because he wants to. And I can't, we're trying not to have him jump too much. We don't want anything happen to his neck. And like with this harness, we avoid pressure on his neck. You know, just work around what he's dealing with.
Mike, a question for you. I know that Heroes in Transition this week said that they're going to donate a lot of the proceeds from this weekend's Rutherford Head relay to provide another canine for the department. Your thoughts on that?
Well, for me personally, I think it's too soon to be thinking about replacing Sean, so that's a discussion.
No, a dog, but replacing Sean.
Well, that's what I mean, replacing his position.
Oh, I see.
So, you know, to get a dog, you need to get a guy
Gotcha.
or girl to
Yeah.
handle him, and for me, that's too soon for that discussion.
Okay.
But we can add to that, you know, Heroes in Transition, we know they're a fantastic group. They get dogs for veterans all over the world,
Yeah.
and they've reached out. They will purchase the next dog for us whenever we're ready.
Okay.
Heroes in transition.
Yes, from Mashpee. That's Cindy Jones and her husband. They lost their son Eric Marie in war, and they've built this foundation to help people because they know the power and the love of animals, and they're ready to help us when we are.
So I can't relate, I'm sorry, Rondell, or just Channel 5. So Nero is now with you, Peter, but going to Sergeant Gannon's wife in a couple, whenever she's ready?
That's one of the possibles. We don't know yet. He is with me, and for certain, it's at least for 3 months he'll be with me for his rehab.
Okay.
After that, people will make decisions, and whatever they're made, that's what will happen. I just don't know.
Sean, prior to this, he was with you for a while?
Yes, about 10 days. I think that was, well, Peter had a vacation plan, and being Peter, he wasn't going to take his vacation. And
Oh, I see.
he was going to stay with him, so I talked him into taking his vacation, and Nero stayed with me.
Do you have a ballpark with that medical costs? Is it pretty extraordinary?
I don't even know. I know it has to be quite expensive.
From what I've seen here in the last 15 minutes, has anybody discussed joint custody of the dog?
No, we probably should.
How many ways?
Yeah, that's, the thing is, you know, we're all such good friends, so it's, you know, it's no problem. Anytime I want to go over there, he's at the right place where he needs to be right now. He needs to be at Peter's house until he's fully recuperated, and so it's the right thing for Nero.
I don't think people realize how powerful Malinois are. They may think that they're diminutive or tiny, but they're pretty powerful dogs.
Absolutely.
Fast.
Yeah. There's no quit.
Yeah.
There's no quit. And that's, you know, with what we do, that's what they have to do. So.
Now, did Sean write or how did he express that he wanted Nero to go to his wife?
If you want to tell them that?
Well, most of us would probably have that same thought, so, but we filled out emergency contact information.
So he expressed that if anything were happening.
Yeah, so I wrote on mine, if anything were happening to me, that, you know, my canine would go to my wife. So it's a pretty common handler thing, yeah.
And how long was Nero with Sergeant Gannon? 2 years?
Yeah, year and a half, year and a half, yeah.
I think he just got on before Troops in the Spotlight last year. I think it was just before Troops in the Spotlight.
Roughly a year and a half, yeah.
And what were the kinds of activities that Nero would accompany Sergeant Gannon on?
His job as a patrol dog is basically, we make our money by tracking people and tracking things. It could be a person fleeing from an accident, or it could be a person fleeing from a crime scene. They have the ability, night, day, all kinds of weather, to follow scent and find people. They can search buildings and make it much safer for the officers. They can clear a building in a third of the time and probably save, you'd have to take a whole shift, especially in a small department like ours, to do a certain building trip. You could go with the K-9 and do it safely and effectively in just minutes, matter of fact. So that's a big job. They can do crowd control. They can find evidence recovery. They're trained. Somebody dropped a weapon or a gun or even their keys, throw them in the woods, they find them. They can find them. They're really good at that.
Do you track how many apprehensions the K-9 makes?
I don't know his stats. When I did it, I had for court purposes, everything, I had to record everything. So every time I did a track, and now I can confirm that the track was successful, even if I didn't get the guy at the time. The evidence showed that where I stopped my track, he'd been picked up some. It's recorded. You keep that forever. But I don't know what Sean's stats were. I know he had one contact with a bad guy at one time, but as far as the totals, I don't know. Anybody?
Does anybody remember anything that the notorious case that Nero was involved in that comes to mind?
I would think the only one I know of is there's a violent person who has a thing against police and was told before, you're never going to take me, you need the whole shift there, you're not going to get me. And he was involved in a violent situation, and Nero tracked him and found him, and he was violent no more. So, and they were able to get him in custody without any officers getting hurt.
Nero took him down?
Nero found him and prevented him from doing any damage to anybody.
About how long ago was that?
I think it was last summer, maybe?
Yeah, it's 6 months, 9 months, something along those lines. This is too many to mention.
Before you leave, to give him his nap, would it bother Nero if the photographers were to be outside for you, just so we have pictures of you walking him? Would it bother Nero?
No, as long as he has a little wide berth, because that's what I found when he's on this. He's still kind of a little conflicted on what his position is. But yeah, I can walk him through.
With space, he can do that, sure.
Thank you.
Just about the same Jeff here, be fine.
Okay, yeah, I'm just...
Is he on any drugs and medication right now?
He's on from probably 7 or 8 different things when we started. He's down to 2 different types of medicine. One is a liquid that I have to shoot down the throat 3 times a day, which is no fun. And he takes 2 other pills twice a day. And hopefully he'll get weaned off those. It's kind of now they're just trying to make sure his throat heals properly.
Who's going to be the volunteer citizen who will be the first one to try to have regular contact with Nero, or will that not happen?
Oh no, he'll be once it's all over. Even now, he can be sociable around people in the right situations, and he's really fine. It's just that, as I said before, when I have to bring him to these things and it's so soon, and he's in his
right,
it's going to take a while. But once we get the okay to take this off and go to a regular collar, that'll make my life easier.
Do you think we could talk to you guys after you get Nero?
Sure.
Sure,
settled?
absolutely.
What do you think, folks? Do you want to go outside and then have Mac walk the dog out, or what's best? Sure. All right.
Yeah.
All right, if you guys want to do